The desert night was eerily silent, the wind whispering through the skeletal remains of sagebrush that dotted the landscape around Los Alamos. In the Omega site, where shadows stretched long and the air hung thick with an electric tension, Harry Daghlian stood alone, his face illuminated only by the dim overhead lights that flickered sporadically. The war was over, but the work continued. The Manhattan Project was a beast that refused to sleep, its hunger insatiable. Harry wasn't supposed to be there, not alone. But an idea had gnawed at him all evening, a whispering voice urging him back to the lab, to the core that pulsed like a metal heart beneath his fingers. The others had gone, but he stayed. There was just one last calculation, one final test to confirm his suspicions. If he could position the neutron-reflecting bricks just right, the data would be invaluable. The tungsten carbide bricks were dense, their weight a reminder of the forces he was tampering with. As he stacked them carefully around the core, a dull clicking filled the room. The Geiger counter, its tempo quickened like an anxious heartbeat, each tick a warning that went ignored. A deep breath, one more brick, one last push. The slip was minuscule, a fraction of a second. The brick tumbled from his grip, landing with a hollow clang atop the assembly. Then came the light, an unnatural, hellish blue that bathed the room in its eerie glow. Time slowed. The air grew heavy, pressing against him, forcing his breath into shallow gasps. Every nerve in his body screamed. He reacted instinctively, shoving the brick away, breaking the chain reaction. The light flickered out, leaving only darkness and the staccato echo of his own ragged breathing. Something had changed. The lab felt different. The walls loomed closer, their angles sharper. The once familiar hum of machinery now carried an unsettling resonance, a whispering beneath the surface of sound. The Geiger counter, which should have slowed, continued its frantic chatter. Then came the shadows. They slithered along the edges of the room, not cast by any light, but moving with purpose, with hunger. He tried to blink them away, but they remained, growing bolder. The air turned fetid, the stench of burned metal and rotting flesh curling into his nostrils. A voice, distant yet familiar, echoed through the space. "Harry!" He spun, searching for the source. The security guard, Hemmerly, sat frozen at his post, unaware. The voice had not come from him. Then, in the dim light, he saw it. A figure stood just beyond the tungsten pile, barely more than an outline, yet impossibly detailed. Its form shimmered, caught between existence and void, its eyes 2 points of frozen blue fire. Harry's stomach twisted with recognition. It was him, a grotesque reflection, watching, waiting. Pain lanced through his body, sudden and excruciating. His skin burned from within, his bones ached with a sickness deeper than marrow. He stumbled, grasping at the table for support, but his fingers passed through it as though it were mist. Number, not mist. He was fading. The figure stepped closer, its lips curling into something that might have been a smile. It raised one trembling hand, mirroring Harry's own movements. He felt its presence inside his skull, memories unraveling, thoughts bleeding together. It whispered in a voice only he could hear. "You are me, I am you. We belong to the core now." Harry tried to scream, but no sound escaped. The light flickered again, and when it steadied, the figure was gone. But something remained, a heaviness, a presence. He was not alone. The following days were a waking nightmare. His body withered, the radiation carving through him with cruel precision. His skin blackened, his vision blurred, and the hospital walls closed in, suffocating him. But worse than the pain were the shadows. They never left. They whispered secrets in the dead of night, showed him glimpses of a world beyond, where time did not flow and the core burned eternal. The blue light visited him often, crawling beneath his eyelids even when they were shut. He could feel it burrowing into him, consuming him piece by piece. The doctors said he was dying. They were wrong. He wasn't dying. He was becoming. On the 25th day, his body gave in. The machines fell silent, the doctors murmured, and the family wept. They buried what was left of him, but the core knew the truth. Harry Daghlian never left Los Alamos. He still lingers in the Omega site, in the spaces between light and dark, forever trapped in the moment when science reached beyond its grasp and touched something it was never meant to awaken. And sometimes, when the desert night is quiet, when the wind whispers through the hollow labs, the blue light flickers once more, and Harry watches. Yet, the story does not end there. There have been reports, unsettling ones. Scientists who work late at night claim to hear faint whispers, a voice that echoes just beyond their comprehension. Security guards patrolling the Omega site speak of cold spots in the desert heat, of flickering blue lights that dance in the darkness. Equipment malfunctions inexplicably. Shadows stretch too far, shift when no one moves. One man, a technician performing maintenance decades later, felt a presence press against him as he walked past the very room where it happened. He turned, expecting a colleague, but saw only a fleeting glimpse of a figure with burning blue eyes before the air turned heavy and still. He quit the next day. Some say Daghlian's spirit is trapped, bound to the core's energy. Others believe it is not just him, but something older, something awakened by the atomic forces humans sought to control. A doorway was open that night, and something stepped through. The demon core was eventually used in a nuclear test at Bikini Atoll, its deadly legacy dispersing into the sky. But energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. And somewhere, in the spaces between worlds, in the echoes of radiation and time, the blue light still glows.